When we speak of Renaissance, we usually think of Florence, Paris, or Vienna. But history holds another Renaissance equally important, equally profound, if not more significant, which unfolded in eastern part of India in a place called Bengal. Indeed, perhaps there is no other place in our planet that stretches between the tallest mountain ranges, the Himalayas, and the deepest ocean, the Indian Ocean, where land carved by rivers and sculpted by monsoons, Bengal, has over 1,000 years produced waves of global thinkers and spiritual leaders, rebels and mystics, artists, educationists and scientists, poets and philosophers, social reformers and institution builders, dancers and sport legends, musicians and magicians who redefine what it means to be human, free, creative, courageous, and above all, selfless. The Bengal Renaissance was a 1,000-year continuum of spiritual, intellectual, scientific, cultural, and social renewal, one that quietly shaped modern Asia and influenced global thoughts along multiple dimensions. This is the story of that awakening along multiple dimensions. The story begins not in the 19th century, but a millennium earlier when young Atish Dipankar Srijana, who in late 900s walked from Bengal to Tibet carrying wisdom, compassion and unshakable faith in human dignity, laying the ethical and rational foundations of Tibetan Buddhism. Between the 11th and 14th century, Bengal was not silent. Bengal became a crucible of ideas shaped by interaction of Buddhism, Sufism, and Vaishnavism. This spiritual intellectual ferment found expression in Charapadda poets and Chandidas, whose work reflected deepening humanism and inner awakening. This stream matured with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who in late 1400s, early 1500s, whose Bhakti revolution humanized spirituality. He challenged rigid orthodoxies, empowered the marginalized, and demonstrated that social transformation begins in the heart. Lalal Fakir followed in late 1700s, early 1800s, dissolving caste and creed through song, affirming a radical spiritual egalitarianism. By 19th century, Bengal had already learned two enduring languages, reason and compassion. These came to a luminous expression in Ramakrishna Paramahansa, who in mid-1800s, who experienced all religions as living truths and taught that religion is not a doctrine, but realization. Where Ramakrishna was fire, Sharada Devi was a steady flame, embodying spiritual motherhood, discipline, and quiet strength, cutting across barriers of caste, gender, and poverty. From this lineage arose Swami Vivekananda, who carried Bengal's spiritual confidence onto the world stage. At Chicago in 1893, he awakened global consciousness, asserting that true national strength lies in spirituality, tolerance, and intellectual depth, in turn put Vedantic philosophy on the global stage. He emerged as the voice that woke a nation. Soon after, Sri Aurobindo emerged as a bridge between spirituality and futurism, envisioned human evolution as a conscious ascent from instinct to reason, intuition, and beyond. Alongside this vision, Anandamayi Ma embodied inner freedom itself, teaching not through doctrine, but through presence, reminding society spiritual grounding is essential for moral courage. In globalizing era, Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada carried the Bhagavad Gita to the West, founding ISKCON and demonstrating that universal relevance of India's spiritual wisdom. The spiritual currents in Bengal, the stage of civilizational self-renewal, self-questioning. In the early 19th century, Bengal became the cradle of a new awakening rooted in reason, justice and human dignity, triggering the social transformation of Bengal. Raja Rammohun Roy ignited the first bonfire of modern India. With moral courage, he challenged Shruti, superstitions and illiteracy, and championed women's dignity and reimagined modern Indian as rooted yet global, spiritual yet rational. Through the Brahmo Samaj, he launched the first India's organized reform movement. Alongside him stood Rabindranath Tagore, a visionary entrepreneur who believed enterprise must serve society, proving that prosperity without ethics is hollow. The reformist impulse deepened further through Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, whose actions advanced widow remarriage, women's education, and overall education of young Bengal. Equally vital was Rani Rashmani, who defied convention to build Dakshineshwar Temple, creating spaces of spiritual inclusivity and linking social reform with inner awakening, which intertwined with spiritual giants in the era. In parallel, Henry Desrosiers ignited young minds. Young Bengal movement challenged orthodoxy. Akshay Kumar Dutt, Rabindranath Tagore, Keshav Chandra Sen reshaped ethics and public life. Bengal became a rare place where tradition argued with itself. In the process, the spirit of reform became natural. No Renaissance is complete without flowering of literary movement. Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay gave us Bande Mataram. Michael Bodhisharan, known for Meghnad Kabbyo, broke poetic forms. Rabindranath Tagore, poet, philosopher and educator, redefined humanity itself to become the first non-European Nobel laureate, influencing global thought leaders across nations from east to west. Kazi Nazrul Islam infused music and literature with a fiery call for equality. Sharat Chandra Chattopadhyay wrote Society's Conscience. Jivananda Das captured the emotional landscape of Bengal like no others. Vibhuti Bhushan, Tarashankar, Manik Bandyopadhyay, rural truths to awaken Bengal. From a philosophical perspective, Aurobindo Ghosh bridged mysticism with evolution. Krishna Chandra Bhattacharjee, Anukul Chandra Mukherjee, Binay Kumar Sarkar rethought modernity in the context of evolving Bengal. Bengal asked, what does it mean to be human in the changing world? As the spiritual and social movements began maturing by the mid to late 19th century, energized by reform and freeing spirit, the call for national liberation began to rise, and Bengal became its furnace. Awakening of political nationalism came through Surendranath Banerjee, Umesh Chandra Banerjee, alongside Alan Octavian Hume. They taught people to speak the language of rights, self-respect, and collective destiny, giving birth to India's National Congress. Then the flame deepened. Sri Aurobindo, Bipin Chandra Pal, Borindra Kumar Ghosh infused the struggle with spiritual intensity and revolutionary courage. From that fire emerged the young Bengal, the young fighters, Khudiram Bose, Prafulla Chandra Chaki, Binay Basu, Badal Gupta, Dinesh Gupta, Surya Sen, who proved the freedom sometimes demands youth itself. They gave their lives, and they will be always remembered and revered as martyrs forever. Then emerged a giant personality, Subhash Chandra Bose, who transformed freedom into global strategy, carrying India's cause onto the world stage, guided by Chittaranjan Das as his mentor and moral anchor, inspired by Rashmani Bose in Japan. He took India's struggle on the global stage. Here freedom was moral, intellectual, militant, powerful, but never political, all at once. And it is important to note, women stood unafraid at history's edge. Matangini Hazra walked into bullets chanting Bande Mataram. Potilata Vadeddar chose martyrdom over submission. Beyond them rose pioneers of conscience, Begum, Rokia, Kadambari Ganguly, Chandramukhi Basu, Sarojini Naidu, who turned reform into destiny and poetry into power. This was Bengal's gift to freedom, a revolution of mind, spirit, courage, and conscience. Every Renaissance, as we know, is built on institutions. In early 19th century Bengal, modern education took root through pioneers such as David Hare and Alexander Duff, who were joined by Bengali reformers who saw knowledge as liberation. From the late 19th to mid-20th century, centered in Kolkata, emerged a global crucible of science where intellectual daring fused with nation-building ethical purpose. Science here served not in isolation, but as a civilization renewal. Mahendralal Sarkar marked a decisive turning point. In 1876, he founded Indian Association of Cultivation of Science, India's first modern research institute, asserting that Indians must create original knowledge, not merely absorb Western knowledge. At the frontiers of thought stood Jagadish Chandra Bose, who dissolved the divide between living and non-living matter. Prafulla Chandra Roy, founder of modern Indian chemistry and Indian industry, and promoted Swadeshi enterprise in name of Bengal Chemical. Ashutosh Mukherjee, who transformed Calcutta University into Asia's foremost intellectual hub. Global recognition followed. C.V. Raman discovered the Raman effect in Kolkata, earning Asia's first Nobel Prize in Science. Meghnad Saha revealed the chemistry of stars, and Satyendranath Bose reshaped quantum physics through Bose-Einstein and statistics, laying the foundations of entirely new state of matter, which is known today as the God particle or boson. Science followed into society. Prafulla Chandra Mahalanobis founded Indian Statistical Institutes, and his work in statistics is revered, particularly in Japan, where TQC became the power of Japanese manufacturing industry. Shishir Kumar Mitra built in Calcutta School of Radio Physics. Upendranath Brahmachari saved millions through medical discovery. Gyang Chandra Ghosh carried the legacy into independent India as the first director of Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur. In parallel, Bengal broke into colonial monopolies in administration. Satyendranath Tagore, Ramesh Chandra Dutt, Surendranath Banerjee, and even Subhash Chandra Bose all passed the prestigious Imperial Civil Service examination and proved they are equally qualified as the British rulers to take charge of institutions. Their achievements were blows struck against colonial arrogance. Furthermore, Bengal minds have reshaped the global art and science of economics, from welfare theory to development practice, deepening how the world understands justice, poverty, and human choice. In recent years, Nobel laureate Amartya Sen reframed development as freedom, while Abhijit Banerjee transformed policy through rigorous evidence-based experimentation. Alongside the intellectual legacy stands Mother Teresa, also another Nobel laureate, who working in Kolkata gave economics its moral soul by living among the poorest, together embodying a Bengali ethos where knowledge and service converge in enduring commitment to human dignity, to human development. This was Bengal's genius institutions guided by conscience, knowledge shaped by destiny. After all, civilization breathes through art, and in art, Bengal found its voice. In painting, Rabindranath Tagore, Nandalal Bose, Jamini Roy shaped modern Indian art rooted in tradition, freed from imitation. In music and performing arts, Bengal reached the world. Nirmalandi Chaudhuri carried folk song to the global stage. Ravi Shankar and Ananda Shankar transformed the sitar into universal language. Ustad Ali Akbar Khan gave Sarod a global meaning. And of course, Uday Shankar reimagined Indian dance in the modern world. Through cinema, Bengal spoke quietly. Satyajit Roy, Ritik Ghatak, Mrinal Sen showed the realism has soul. Without spectacle, they spoke of poverty and dignity, family and moral choice. Ray, one of the great filmmakers of the 20th century, who not only won Oscar, but remained studied worldwide, admired by Kurosawa, Scorsese, and Bregman. Beneath it all flowed songs and spirits of Rabindra Sangeet, Nazrul Giti, and timeless Baul tradition, where rebellion and beauty came together. Even in magic in the 50s and 60s of the 20th century, Bengal expresses genius through internationally active and revered magician P.C. Sarkar. Bengal proved that culture is not decoration, it is its identity. Alongside spiritual and cultural, political and intellectual revolutions came a transformation of the physical self itself. In sports, Goshtopal, Shailen Manna, Joydeep Mukherjee, Chuni Goswami, Saurabh Ganguly, Leander Paes displayed grace under pressure. And in swimming, how can we forget Mihir Sen, a long-distance swimmer who was the first Asian to cross the English Channel, 1958. Furthermore, in bodybuilding and in physical culture, we cannot forget Manodhar Roy, who was the first Asian to win Mr. Universe, and then Manohar Aij, known as Pocket Hercules, won the Mr. Universe in 1952. At a time when Indians were told they were weak, these men proved otherwise. Why the Bengal Renaissance matters today. As you realize by now, this was a Renaissance that unfolded without empires, without conquest, without wealth, and without cultural arrogance. Only through struggles of self-expression, Bengal was and remains a state of mind which is borderless. The Bengal Renaissance did not simply awaken India, it awakened an entire way of being. It is a model of civilization renewal. It offers blueprint for the future. Its unbroken flame, carried across centuries, it showed that spirituality and science can coexist. Tradition can reform itself. Modernity need not erase culture. Education must shape character, not only skills, and freedom requires ethical and moral depth and highly elevated conscience. And now, the flame waits for the new generation to rise, to serve, to create, to imagine, to innovate, to ignite, to lead, and to carry the spirit of Renaissance forward. A final reminder that even under oppression, creativity can bloom. Even in poverty, genius can rise. Even in darkness, a Renaissance can begin.